welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm the author of the young adult fantasy novel Firian Rising, and this is English Nerd. So today I wanted to talk to you about how to self-publish a book, or at least how I was able to do it. My debut novel is coming out this July, so definitely check that out if you're interested in magical schools and mind powers and all kinds of fun stuff. Ask me about it if you're interested. So I did a ton of research before I self-published my book. I listened to podcasts, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, I read articles, and what I found I compiled into what is essentially a checklist for self-publishing your book the way that I did it. Now, there are a few different ways to self-publish a book, and I'll address a couple of those in this video, but these are the bare essentials in order, which would have been very helpful for me as I was getting started. Okay, so you finished your book. Fantastic. Be proud, celebrate. That's one of the things. You should definitely celebrate every step of this process because it is kind of a longish process, or it can be. So celebrate any chance that you get. So you finished your draft. Awesome. Edit the draft and then give it to other people to read. So beta readers, people like that, to give you feedback. Consider that feedback, adjust until you have something that is truly excellent. So please don't publish your first draft of anything. That's a terrible, terrible decision. Okay, so now you not only have a finished draft, but you have one that is edited, that's polished, that doesn't have typos or plot holes or anything like that. What do? The first thing that you want to do is get an ISBN. That's an International Standard Book Number. 95% sure that's what it stands for. It's the numbers on the back here. So if you see that, the light's not really helping me out, but anyway, that number, you do actually need to pay for that unless you decide to go exclusive with Amazon, which would mean that you can use one of Amazon's ISBN numbers. The issue with that, the only issue with that, is that you can't transfer that number if you decide to, you know, try to get your book into Barnes & Noble or any other venue whatsoever. You have to just stick with theirs. So if you want to go exclusive with Amazon, that's great. You can use one of their ISBN numbers, they're free. Or if you would prefer to have a little bit more freedom and ability to do what you want with the book, you'll go to myidentifiers.com and buy ISBNs there. A couple of things to keep in mind when you're buying ISBNs. One, they're more expensive than you think. That's irritating. Two, they get a whole lot less expensive the more you get, so keep that in mind. Three, and most importantly, you need a different ISBN for every format of the book. So I have a hardcover here, for instance. I have a paperback back there. Those are two separate numbers. So you definitely do not just want to buy one. That is the worst deal and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So you want to get at least 10 if you can. Okay, so you have your number, then you will format your book. A few ways that you can do this. I know this is kind of the unsexy side of publishing, but it would have been so helpful for me, so I'm hoping it's helpful for you. You want to format your book. I assume that you have your book in Word or Google Docs or maybe Scrivener, because a lot of people like that. To format, you can ask your cover artist to do it. There are often packages where cover artists will also format your book. If so, that's great. There is a free service on Reedsy.com that will format your book for you, which is very nice. I chose to get the software called Vellum that is a professional formatting software. So I do it myself, but I did have to pay for the software. So few different options there. I'm sure there are a lot more options. I assume that Scrivener has a formatting feature, for instance, but I don't use Scrivener, so I can't tell you for sure. But anyway, you do need to get it formatted. The reason that you have to get it formatted before you go to a cover artist, or at the same time, is that you need to know, for physical books anyway, how wide it's going to be here, which means that you need everything formatted so you have an exact page count. Once everything's formatted, then you can tell the people how thick your book's going to be and all that jazz. Okay, next I have a couple of suggestions that apply only to people who are also doing print copies in addition to ebook copies. So you have your ISBN, you have your complete formatted manuscript. Next thing you're going to want to do is choose a print-on-demand service. So the two big ones are Ingram Spark or KDP Print. So just choose one of those. Keep in mind that Ingram Spark is the only one that can do hardcovers. KDP Print does not do hardcovers, but whichever you prefer is perfectly fine. You want to choose because then you'll go to that website, either KDP Print or Ingram Spark, and you'll decide on the dimensions of your book and the type of paper. All of this influences how thick the spine is going to be and all that stuff. So mine is, this hardcover is a 6x9 with cream colored paper. There are a couple other specs that I can't remember at the moment, but so you'll get all that stuff squared away, you'll figure it out, and then you will get your book ready for a cover artist. Again, cover artists can do the formatting for you. You will have to let them know about all that formatting specific stuff, like what the inches are of your book and everything, so just be aware of that. So to prepare for a cover artist, there are a few things that you need to know for sure. Obviously, you need to know the title, you need to know your author name, if it's not going to be your own name. You need to know what the back cover blurb is going to say. So for mine, this is not the best example, I suppose. This is actually my back cover blurb on the paperback, but you need to write your back cover blurb and have it ready when you give the book off to a cover artist. You can do your own cover, it's true, but it is complicated and tends not to look half as good as professional. So there are some cheaper services. It doesn't have to cost hundreds of dollars to get a cover, but I would definitely suggest going with some kind of professional. And either way, they're going to ask you what the blurb needs to say on the back. Let's see, I have my list down here. Forgive me for a second for looking. You need to write a summary of the story as well. The back cover blurb is the thing that is snappy, that gets people interested. It's like the commercial for your book. The summary is literally just detailing what happens in the book, who are the main characters, the main settings, and that's where you have to give away the end usually and things like that. The cover artist won't include those things, but they need to know what is important to the story, what are some of those important people, places, objects, you know, what is it that can help them to create a cover that is good. Another thing you want to do as you are preparing to send your book off to the cover artist is do a little bit of research yourself. You always want to have a handle on what is trending at the moment in your genre. Now, you don't want to be super trendy because, as we know, most trends kind of come and go, but be aware of what sells in your genre. So I write young adult fantasy, and as you can see, it's not like I have a cover like everyone else's necessarily, but I did do some research into covers that tend to catch people's attention, that people tend to talk about, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I mean, it's just gorgeous, I have to say. So a little bit of research can be helpful as well. Keep a couple of books in mind that have covers that you really enjoy. So I've never read The Wicked King by Holly Black, but I love the cover with the crown going into the water. So that was an example of a cover that I sent to my cover artist and said, hey, something that has this sort of aesthetic I really like it. And that book's doing super well. So, okay, now you have your cover ready. You can send it off to a cheaper design site like 100 Covers, which I'm using for a different series. They are really fantastic and also significantly cheaper than a lot of other high quality sites. The one that I used for Firian Rising, which is one of the coolest covers I've ever seen in my life, is demanza.com, and I'll include all these links down below. Demanza is a much more expensive service, especially if you're doing multiple formats of the book. and everything, but I do not regret a penny that I spent with them. They send a couple of different options at first. You get to choose which option you want to work with, and then we went back and forth a few times. The original version was almost entirely white. It reminded me of the train station at the end of Harry Potter 7, and I said there's really no place that looks like that or even feels that way in the book, so could we darken the colors? And they turned it into this beautiful blue. Firian, who's of course pictured on the cover, had a more slumped stance at one point, almost like he was a prisoner or something, and that wasn't quite right either. So I said, well, he needs to sit up and his outfit needs to be black, and I was very particular, but they were super professional, got back to me, and it ended up being something that I am just so happy with. I'll definitely be going back to Damanza for the second book in the Firian series. Alright, so you have your formatted book, you have your ISBN, you have your cover art now, which is always just so much fun. I love that part. Then what you'll do is you'll upload your formatted interior and your cover art to one of those platforms, the one that you chose, so either Ingram Spark or KDP Print, and make sure that you have an idea before you do that step. I know there are lots of sub-steps, but bear with me. Before you upload those things, you need to know what price you intend to set your book at. So this one is $18.99, and comparable prices in different currencies. So you'll have to have an idea of what price you want, and also the keywords that you want associated with your book, that basically they're the search terms that you want your book to appear with. So if you have a book that has some magic in it, you might want to include something like young adult fantasy magic artifact or something like that. So a keyword doesn't have to be one word, it's more like it's not quite like a hashtag, but insofar as it can be multiple words kind of strung together. So don't skip out on the keywords. The keywords will allow people to find you, so do a little bit of research on those as well if you can, and then make sure you get those keywords in place. That's pretty much it. A couple notes on just the ebook. If you're not planning on doing the print book, you still want to hire a cover artist, but those covers tend to be cheaper because there isn't actually a back to the book. It's just the front cover. For the ebook format, you still want to write a blurb. You still need to know your keywords and everything. With the ebooks, there are two main tracks that you can go. You can go exclusive with Amazon Kindle, so if you decide to do that, they'll have a button, or I think it's one of those one of those sliding buttons, you know what I'm talking about, that says, yes, I want to be exclusive with Kindle, or no, I don't. If you choose not to, then you have the freedom to go have your ebook available in other countries or on other platforms like Nook or whatever. But if you decide to go exclusive with Kindle, then they give you some perks, so you can go into Kindle Unlimited, for instance, which gets you more exposure. So it's kind of there are pros and cons to doing that. So you will have to decide if you want to go exclusive or not. Yeah, so I guess that's it. ISBN, formatting, cover art, upload. Those are the 4 basic steps, but you have to figure out those things below them. So again, some of the resources that I used while I was creating Firian Rising are myidentifiers.com for the ISBN. Readsy.com is where I found my professional editor. So it's great to use friends and family and all that for beta reading, but you know, just so you know, for my professional editor, I found her on Readsy and she was great. Interior formatting, I bought Vellum, the software. For my cover design, I went with Damanza, which is a website that I'll link down below. For print on demand, I went with Ingram Spark because they do hardcovers and it looks super good. For ebook distribution, because I'm doing all 3 formats, I am uploading to Kindle, but I'm not going exclusive with them, at least for now. And then for all my other ebook distribution, I went with Publish Drive. So we'll see how that works out. So far my book's coming out in July, so I don't have a lot of updated information to give you, but I really hope that this was helpful. I know at the beginning of my journey it would have been nice to have a video that just put everything together like this, so concisely. So if you have any questions at all about self-publishing a book that looks like it's traditionally published and is generally awesome, then let me know down in the comments. I'm sure we could all benefit from those questions. Sorry I didn't have a video last Monday. It's been a crazy few weeks with the end of school and my sister getting married, so thanks for your patience, and I hope you guys have a wonderful summer. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next Monday.